Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thanks.
Boris Yeltsin 1931–2007 former President of Russia. He is best known as the first President of the Russian Federation, serving from 1991 to 1999. Boris Yeltsin was a prominent Russian politician who led the country through the turbulent 1990s. Surprisingly, he began his political career as a staunch supporter of Mikhail Gorbachev, assisting the latter in ridding the Moscow party organization of corruption. However, over time, he became one of Gorbachev's most powerful political opponents, criticizing the slow pace of Gorbachev's reforms. His political fortunes were quickly turned when he was demoted to an administrative position. Nonetheless, not one to back down, he quickly returned to the heat of politics after being elected chairman of the Russian Supreme Soviet, and the rest, as they say, is history. He was the first elected president of the Russian Federation in 1991, and he was re-elected in 1996. During his presidency, he sought to implement radical changes in Russia's social and economic policies through liberalization and privatization. His reformist policies, however, backfired as corruption, inflation, economic collapse, and massive political and social problems proliferated. Not one to cling to power, he stepped down at the turn of the century to allow new leaders to take over. Continue reading to learn more about his life. And here's a quote about Boris Yeltsin. "Your commanders have ordered you to storm the White House and to arrest me. But I, as the elected president of Russia, give you the order to turn your tanks and not to fight against your own people. There were no strategic mistakes that could affect Russia's history and its further development. No, there were no such mistakes. Tactical errors were made in some less significant options, problems, and so on. But, on the whole, Russia embarked on a correct path and it changed. We don't appreciate what we have until it's gone. Freedom is like that. It's like air. When you have it, you don't notice it. Let's not talk about communism. Communism was just an idea, just pie in the sky. A man must live like a great brilliant flame and burn as brightly as he can. In the end he burns out. But this is far better than a mean little flame. I would like to stress here that a lasting peace in the Chechen Republic and so-called peace talks with the bandits are not the same thing, and I would ask everyone to make no mistake about that. You have no right to criticize Russia over Chechnya. You can build a throne with bayonets, but you can't sit on it for long. We want peace and a political solution to the situation in Chechnya. I understand that it's hard for everyone, but one cannot give in to emotions. We'll have to draw lessons from the current crisis, and now we'll have to work on overcoming it. It is especially important to encourage unorthodox thinking when the situation is critical. At such moments, every new word and fresh thought is more precious than gold. Indeed, people must not be deprived of the right to think their own thoughts. International terrorism is throwing down a challenge, and not just to Russia. Thousands of mercenaries, who have trained in camps on the territory of Chechnya as well as come in from abroad, are actually preparing to impose extremist ideas on the whole world. Europe has found itself confronted with fresh challenges of a global character, the nature of which is directly connected with changes in the international climate and the difficulties of seeking new models for cooperation. There are numerous bugbears in the profession of a politician. First, ordinary life suffers. Second, there are many temptations to ruin you and those around you. And I suppose third, and this is rarely discussed, people at the top generally have no friends. The most important thing is that Milosevic agreed to sit at the negotiating table with the Kosovo Albanians. One could see that what you are writing was that today's meeting with President Bill Clinton was going to be a disaster. Now, for the first time, I can tell you that you are a disaster. Russia also declared its independence. This was approved by the Supreme Soviet, and you know and remember that there was the Declaration on the Independence of Russia. We all have an equal interest in stability and security throughout Europe. The years the OSCE has existed, and particularly this year, have given rise to great expectations and at the same time to powerful disappointments. We are well aware from which countries and through which countries the terrorists are receiving support. In the immediate future, I shall be calling upon the leaders of these states to put a stop to this kind of activity. While maintaining our nuclear potential at the proper level, we need to devote more attention to developing the entire range of means of information warfare. We believe that gradually, as we have planned, without hurry, this problem can be overcome. We remain friends, in a very friendly atmosphere. We lack rubles, and that's where the delays come from. What we really need is not their money but their trust. The clouds of terror and dictatorship are gathering over the whole country. They must not be allowed to bring eternal night. I especially love driving down a hill directly at a tree and swerving to one side at the last moment. That's my way to relax. A total of 1,580 people, the civilian population, suffered as a result of the bloody wave of terrorist acts that swept over Moscow and other towns and villages of our country. A government is not an old pair of socks that you throw away. We Russians are already living, not getting ready to live. Not a single reform effort in Russia has ever been completed. The West has not lived through totalitarianism, with a single ideology for 70 years. We are escaping from the burden of the past, and only after we have done that will we be ready to integrate with Europe, and Europe needs Russia. I am convinced that the moment is coming when, with its message of eternal, universal values, it will come to the aid of our society. For in these words, "Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself," lie those very moral principles that will enable us to survive even the most critical situations. I believe in this tragic hour you can make the right choice. The honor and glory of Russian men of arms shall not be stained with the blood of the people.